Welcome back to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Woods. The Thunder come back on the Bulls from 22 points down to get a win. I'm here joined by our guest, Daily Thunder contributor, Ian. Ian, how are you, brother?
Man, my heart is still beating out of my chest a bit, but I'm good, and I'm a bit conflicted, but I'm good.
Okay, let's go ahead and get into that. This has been a theme all year after wins. Take us through your confliction.
When we were down by 20 to the Bulls, it was something that I said, this stinks, but I'm okay with it. There's a purpose to it. And then the resilience of this Thunder team, it's a resilience you don't really see with young teams, which one has something to deal with SGA and him being a lot of steps ahead in his growth as a star player in the league. And then two, I think it's a great sign for this coaching staff that these players will play for Mike and they'll play for those guys on the staff and they listen and they're responsive. The resilience of this young team. And as they started climbing back into the game, I found myself like, man, we're in this, quote unquote, attempted repositioning, retooling, rebuilding, whatever word Presti wants to use for it. Mm-hmm. We're in this mode where we're supposed to be bad. Mm-hmm. And yet we can't be bad. We're still an average NBA team, even though ESPN said we had the worst roster in the league, even though on offense sometimes it just seems like it's SGA creating. But still, like, these guys play hard and they play for each other and they play for their coach. And they ended up coming back. And I was like, I kind of want them to win this game now. And I don't want them to battle back from 20 down to lose the game. And so then I found myself like, shoot, let's beat them. Let's just win. Let's win this.
Yeah, I share a lot of those feelings. And when SGA, tonight was his new career high at 33. And when he hit that career high mark, I was like, okay, let's go ahead and see this finish off with a W, because he did have such an incredible game, such an efficient night. And take me through your emotions when you saw it. He got a layup, and then at the next play, another driving layup that forced a Bulls timeout. And you saw a lot of emotion, a lot of swag come out of SGA going back to the bench.
Right.
The leadership and the kind of the emotional, I guess, the soul of this team comes from this young star in SGA. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
Okay, so I might sound crazy here, but just hear me out. This is an effect of, I think, the Chris Paul Basketball Academy, right?
Love it.
So remember when Chris Paul played for the Clippers and his backup was Eric Bledsoe?
Yeah.
And then everybody loved what Eric Bledsoe could do. And Phoenix bought into that and they brought him in. And Eric Bledsoe had a few good years in Phoenix and had a really competitive Suns team, even though it was just him and Goran Dragic there. I think a lot of what Chris Paul did last year has rubbed off on SGA. And you can see that with young players, what happens is they'll go 100 miles an hour the first 3 quarters, and by the fourth, they're gassed. Mm-hmm. But with SGA, the way he paces himself through the first, second, third, and then in the fourth quarter, he can take over for these 4-minute stretches. And that's what makes these games competitive. It's that he has something that usually veterans in this league have in understanding how to pace yourself in an NBA game. Not every moment is a game 7, but when you pace yourself, you can be there in the big moments. And, this isn't hating on Russell Westbrook at all, but that's something that as Thunder fans, I think we all understood was that I love how hard Russ plays, but I wish he knew how to pace himself and knew which moments to kind of flip it on and kind of take your foot off the gas and let someone else do it. But to see that SGA picked that up from Chris Paul last year and has been utilizing it this year. I mean, he played 43 minutes tonight. He had 33 points. He shot 68% from the floor. And in the fourth quarter, he had the biggest and one of the entire game.
Yeah.
And that just shows someone that knows that not every moment you have to be going 100 miles an hour, but sometimes it's smarter to be going, 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So that when you do need to go 100 miles an hour, you have something left in the tank. And so I think it's a bit of that Chris Paul Basketball Academy that he picked up on those things.
Yeah, it's a great point. And that the and one that you mentioned, let's get into that. So he had pulled the ball out on on a switch. I think it was Carter
Yeah, it
on
was.
him at that point. So or Marketed, one of the two big. So he's out there right wing beyond the 3 point line, and I'm thinking like they're down three, and I'm thinking he's got to put it up. And I was
Right.
waiting on the step back, but his patience to get in the lane, get fouled, and hang, and his hang time when he gets in the lane is such a weapon. He's able to get his shot off over just about anybody because he just lets them go by, and he's
Right.
still in the air, and he gets that and one, and I was just I was blown away by the athleticism, but more so by the maturity. Like you're saying, he's just a few steps ahead of where a normal 22, 23-year old player should be. He's so mature,
Exactly.
and a lot of that I do think has to do with how much he learned from a guy like Chris Paul, what he's learning from this coaching staff. They are developing him so well, and I was just blown away by the patience, by the awareness, the maturity that he showed on that last play.
Exactly. I think what's interesting on that drive, especially the and one, he had a couple tough drives and tough finishes in the game that I was like, okay, wow, like that's an advanced move. But what I love to see is that he's driving to the rim and he's not afraid of the contact. And what I like to see in a player is just like how well do they take that contact going to the rim, because that will translate to free throw attempts later in the season when the games slow down, when the games matter more. What
Yep.
you want to do is be able to get to the line. And SGA isn't afraid of the contact. He almost goes into it, and
Yeah.
he kind of relishes in it. And that's a bit of like James Harden in his game. And maybe he was inspired by that a bit when he was growing up, but just that,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm going to look for the contact and I'm going to put you in a position where you either let me make this layup or you foul me.
Yeah, and it reminds me a bit of Paul George as well. He would get into the lane and kind of neutralize the big by just shoulder into his chest before he
Right.
decides. And so it's another really really cool thing to see from Shea is he's doing a lot of that too. Like you're saying, the James Harden, where he's just looking for that contact, he pursues it, and once he gets the contact, then he has a number of different options that open up to him, whereas they wouldn't all be there if he was just straight line drive 100 miles an hour at the rim. He now has so many more options when that he can back. I mean, you've seen it. He can back some of those bigs down into the baseline.
Right. Right.
So it's a weapon, and I'm so pumped about Shea. On the flip side of going to the rim and finding success was Darius Baisley tonight. Could you read his spot? Was it 2 of 12 for the
It
game?
was 3 of 12, 1 of 3
12.
from three. He was a minus 21 when he was
Yeah,
on
I
the
saw
floor.
his plus minus number before we jumped on, and I was like, that seems right. Like he just had a really rough night going to the basket, and I'm curious to see where he goes from here, like how he counters the fact that he's got a that slow last step before he goes up into the air, and I think he's trying to avoid fouls,
Yeah.
avoid the charge. The officiating has been very tight on him in that jump stop, so
Which
he's calling a lot of
that kind of
travels.
frustrates me because like
Yes,
I see other players getting away with that
yes.
quasi gather step
And
that
Levine
he's
is
been trying
Levine
to
to be
add to.
specific. Levine gets
Exactly.
away with it
Like he
quite a
did it like
bit.
3 times today. And
Yeah,
I'm like, so why is it, called when Baisley does the same exact thing?
yeah,
And I think what it is, he might be thinking too much on the floor. And I read a report before the game that he was questionable with I think it was an ankle or something
yep,
with his leg.
yep,
So that could have contributed to the rough game tonight. But he's like hesitating. And
yes,
that's when he had that good week and a half stretch where he, was scoring in double figures, grabbing double digit rebounds. He was playing free. And
hmm,
that's the biggest thing for Baisley. With a guy with his size that can handle the ball the way that he does, he has to be playing free in order to find success. And so I think maybe he was thinking about the ankle. Maybe he was thinking about the travel calls. Maybe he was thinking about all of that stuff. I just want to see him get back to playing without a worry in the world. Like, you're open, just shoot the ball. Don't
yeah.
think about it too much.
And I think a lot of his, I mean, he was going past his guy initially, but once he's at the rim, he was typically seeing more than one guy. And I think a lot of what you're saying when he's playing at his best is when he's catching that ball in the lane off the roll as the screener, and now he's playing downhill against one big and options in both corners. I'm hoping to see some more of that, because I mean he was benched at the end of the game, and that obviously that could be some more of that ankle. But it might have also just been there were better options to go with at the end of that game tonight. So
like Kenrick Williams, man,
exactly,
the guy's
exactly.
a hooper.
So go. We were talking about him a little bit before we hopped on.
Yeah, I mean, the guy plays with so much energy. I was joking before we hopped on. I'd run through a wall for him at this point. Like the way he sacrifices his body, the way he just finds himself in the right position at the right time. Coming into the season, I had minimal expectations for him. But then to see tonight, he's playing closing minutes in a game where you came back 22 down. And like that's a step forward in anyone's book. And then to see that he went 6 for 6 with 14 points, and then he had he drew a crucial charge at the end of the game. Like the guy finds a way to insert himself in every big moment. And more times than not this season, he's made a heady or smart play. And I like how hard he plays, because you can coach skill, you can teach someone how to shoot, but you can never teach someone how to play basketball hard as though their life depends on it. And that's just something that he has. I think it's kind of a trademark of a lot of the guys on the team, like Lou Dort today. I mean, he played like it was game 7 against Houston all over again.
Yeah. And speaking of guys that I think the entire fan base is ready to run through a wall for, it, that's Lou. He like, oh my gosh. Like I would have never guessed. I thought his defense might take a bit of a leap. And I say little, like emphasis on little. I didn't think he could play much better defense than we saw against Harden in the playoffs. But he's just as good, if not better, as a defender, and he's decided to hit almost half of his threes. Like, what is going on?
I think, one, it's the confidence aspect, and two, his mechanics do look smoother.
Don't they? They look so much better.
Exactly. When I remember when he first started playing after he got called up from the Blue, and he had a bit of a hitch in his jump shot, and slowly but surely you're seeing him kind of take that out of his jumper, and it's becoming it was a 3-motion jump shot, but really it's like 2-motion now, where he brings the ball up and he releases it at the apex of his jump, and it just looks good and it's going in. And I think that he's really benefiting from seeing those shots go in. Yeah. And I think that maybe that game 7 against Houston kind of propelled him into this year, because that game he was hitting everything. And this year, I wrote an article recently on Lou Dort and just how much of his open shots have opened up the rest of his games. Like, teams are running him off the 3-point line at this point. When they close out, they're trying to run him off the line. He's attacking the top foot, and when he's driving, he's going into their body. He's forcing either a foul or he's going to get his layup off. Now, he's finishing at a better rate than last year. The ball isn't careening off the glass. Would you like to see a bit more touch? Yes. And we've seen a bit of that. But just his confidence in his jump shot has forced teams to actually guard him out there. And it's really a breath of fresh air when you compare it to Andre Roberson on offense. Roberson was a defensive stopper, but he gave us nothing on offense. And Lou is a defensive stopper that could give us 21 points on, 7 for 15 and 4 for 11 from 3. And I'll take that from a guy that wasn't supposed to be a scorer in this league.
Yeah, it really is unbelievable. I keep going back to guys like Robertson and even Ferguson. Like, this is kind of what we always wanted to see. And Robertson did elevate to a defensive level that, like, it really didn't matter. Like, if the 3 went in or not, like, this guy is the best perimeter defender in the league, so who cares? But
it just sucked that he got hurt. Like, I really think that if he didn't get hurt, we would have figured it out with Melo and Paul George that year.
I couldn't agree more. There was like a 2-week stretch before he got hurt that they were housing teams. But yeah, Lou he got fouled shooting a 3 a couple of games ago. Like, that should, like, a year ago, a player would get benched immediately for the rest of the game for fouling Lou Dort shooting a 3. Like, it's just not sound defense. This year, it's warranted because he's an improved shooter. And one thing I'd noticed tonight, and as in the last game as well, his free throw shot tells me everything I need to know about how improved his mechanics have become. The ball just like floats out of his hand instead of like charges out of his hands. Because a lot of
it
times
used to be a rock.
Yeah, a lot of times he was throwing up shots that I thought they might have to replace the entire basket. It was some rocks, but yeah. I want to go to this was Oklahoma City's first win at home. And if you recall, last December, Oklahoma City came back against the Bulls at home from 26 down. I want to go to what you saw from the Bulls at the end of that game. I want to start with the third quarter. Billy Donovan, our old friend, took a very mysterious timeout. They were up quite a bit. I don't know if it was 20 or maybe high teens at that point, but Oklahoma City went on a 22-5 run after that timeout. What did you see from Donovan, the decisions he made tonight, and then down the stretch, how he coached a team that was just reeling?
So this has been my indictment on Donovan because I think he's one heck of a basketball coach. But his adjustments, history shows us his adjustments come too little too late. And when your team is reeling the way that Chicago started reeling, when you saw the Thunder do a better effort of taking Zach LaVine out of the game, make it more difficult for Kobe White. And it was kind of like Donovan ran out of things to go to on offense. And then on defense, there were just no adjustments. And that's the thing that frustrated me with Donovan for so many years, is that for all the good that he does, when it comes down to it, he's going to stick with his guy or stick with what he's done because he believes in it. And you have to believe in your stuff, but you also have to know when it's time to say, okay, let's look at this from a different angle. Yeah. And that's really what I noticed was really just the lack of change. Like your team is getting blown out in the quarter and you don't seem to try to do anything to stop it. You feel as though your team could just play out of it. And with a team like the Bulls, they have Zach LaVine, but he's, in terms of a star in the league, he's not going to be able to completely mitigate a run like that. I think that if you don't have a guy that's a top 5 player, it's really hard for your team to play through a run like the Thunder went on. It's extremely hard, especially when your point guard's as young as Kobe White. And especially at the end of the game, it just got ugly because in my mind, how do you not give Zach LaVine more touches at the end of that game? How do you not make sure that he gets the ball? I'm sorry, I like Lauri Markkanen as a player, but I'm taking Zach LaVine isoing over a Kobe White, Lauri Markkanen pick and roll any day of the week. And
it was interesting to me that they have options. They are a talented offensive team. Wendell Carter's a good player. Markkanen is a good player. Kobe White can get super hot. We've seen that in that same arena. LaVine was a flamethrower in the first half and into the third quarter. I thought Dort was exceptional on him in the second half and fighting over screens, forcing turnovers through moving. He made
him so uncomfortable, and you could visibly see he was just getting frustrated.
Yeah, and there was a couple possessions late in the game where LaVine didn't even move from the corner. Like it was like he punted on the possession altogether. That's where I was waiting to see Donovan go to something more of a pet play to get one of those bigs closer to the basket.
That one play you have in your back pocket that can get someone going. Right. Yeah. But that's Donovan at the same time. Like it goes back to the adjustment thing. Like he believes in his players. He believes in his freelance sets, but his out of timeout stuff, his out of bounds stuff, it won't be in the same tier as the Brad Stevens of the world that, Brad Stevens out of a timeout will get you a bucket just by his sheer play design. I don't think that's Donovan. I think he's more of a, let me trust my guys to be able to create a bucket for themselves. And that's why coaching in this league is so important, because when your team is getting thrashed, when your team is getting blown out in a quarter, and when they've taken away what you do to get momentum going, you need to have a set that you can go to that will result in your star player getting the matchup he wants, and so that he'll be able to get to the spot on the floor he wants to get his shot off.
Yeah. Where are you with Poku?
It's a mixed bag for me. It's a real mixed bag. He's very raw, yes, but at the same time, you can find my. I don't want to be hypocritical now that I'm on the podcast, but at the same time, I've vented some frustrations on Twitter and the fact that, yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't see it. I think that maybe 10 years down the line, he can be something, but I don't see the right now that made Presti want to take him in the first round. I feel that he's really a G League guy right now, and yes, he's shown some flashes with his passing. He's the shooting, the form looks good. Maybe it's a confidence thing, but the NBA game is fast, and the decision making is fast, and I don't like at times how he holds the ball like he doesn't know what to do with it. And so it's like you get the ball. It's like what Greg Popovich used to say, like you need to decide what you're going to do within a second. Are you going to shoot? Are you going to drive? Or are you going to pass? Like just figure it out and do that. And I think that he's still trying to work through the mental aspect of the game. And so I don't see it. Maybe I hope I'm wrong because, that's the 17th pick. I hope that he turns into a role player. But I don't know if he's a foundational guy going forward. He did hit a big three today, which I will say, like, I'll give him credit for that. He missed the next three that he took, but you see, nonetheless, he still hit a big three. He was 1 for 4, a minus 17 with 5 points, but maybe he puts it together. Again, it's still early in the year, so I don't want to write off a guy's entire career, but I just don't see it. Yeah.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I share a lot of those. I haven't seen it either. The shooting, obviously, there at times it looks really good. At times it's like, okay, I see, where he's projected to be an elite shooter. But I've never seen a guy so physically behind. Like, I mean, and to be fair to him, this is a very unique team for him to be drafted to in the first round. Like a team that is more than happy to play a guy that's not ready.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with his minutes. Do they stay at around that 20-minute mark? Are they going to lessen them as the season goes on? Are they going to increase them? Is he going to play more with starters as the season goes on? That's what I'm kind of watching with Poku, because he is getting his feet underneath him, but even still, like, he's just so frail, and
Exactly.
that's gonna change. You would assume over time. He's only 18 years. He's the youngest guy in the entire league. He's in 3 to 4 years when this team is projecting to be a much different looking team. I would imagine he'll look different as well. And
you almost wish he was a draft and stash type of guy, like a guy that's coming over in like 2 or 3 years.
I think he would be in any other situation. Had Oklahoma City taken him 3 years ago, we probably wouldn't see a single second of him, even with the blue this year. So it's a very unique situation he's in, and I think it's in the long run, it's going to be to his benefit that he's already getting out there and seeing what it's like and what it's going to take for him to get to the level that it's going to take for him to contribute to this team long term.
Hopefully, 18. I think about myself when I was 18 and just how much my body changes from 18 to now 21.
Yeah,
and like that, those 3 years, they're a big 3 years in terms of just how much your body can change. And I'm not working out at an NBA regiment, so it's like I don't think that he can't. It'll take patience, and I'm not the most patient guy, so maybe it's something I need to work on. But obviously, I trust Presti. Presti's been decent in talent evaluation. I mean, so I trust that his eyes see something that maybe our untrained eyes don't see just yet.
Yeah.
But I read this article on the Oklahoman, talking just about the way Presti goes into scouting. And just his ability to describe players' play styles and what he looks for. And obviously, we all know the jokes. He loves his athletic wings that can't shoot. But Presti's a real talent evaluator, and his track record proves that. Like, outside of just the big three that we know, like, think about the Reggie Jacksons of the world that he found that are still in the league today, you know? And so I don't think that it's a miss, and you can't label it a miss. We're barely even into the season. And so maybe this will turn out into being something. A guy that I do love is Teo Maledon, though. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand how he plays with such patience.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a rookie that's in such of he's not in a rush ever. And I love it. Like, he comes into the game and it's like he's a 3-year, 4-year veteran at this point. Like, you can't speed him up. He's going to do what he's going to do. He'll hit the open jump shot. He can play well in the pick and roll. He makes great decisions. And today, I mean, he had 10 points on 4 for 8 shooting, 2 for 5 from 3. Just, I think that goes to show that, like, Presti knows how to evaluate talent.
100%. And I'm really hoping for more Maledon minutes with Shea, because I think those two can play together, and I think it really elevates Teo's contributions when he's out there with Shea. Want to shout out Isaiah Roby. No idea again where this is coming from him. He looks so good. He's 6'8". He passes for a 6'10", 6'11" guy. He plays so much bigger and wider on defense than his frame. And he's a really solid shooter. I don't know if the numbers exactly bear out how smooth of a shooter he looks, but and maybe that's just the benefit of the doubt on you watching bigs for Oklahoma City not be able to shoot the ball throughout the years. But he's such a smooth shooter, and at 6'8", it makes me wonder, like, if they were to go with a big, like a more of a long-term big, could he play the 4 or even the 3? Am I crazy to think that he could play the 4?
I think you got to look at the way that the NBA is going, and that and this was something I wrote about over the summer before the Steven Adams trade went down. I wrote a piece about just the Thunder need to modernize its front court. And then you look at Darius Bazley and a guy like Roby, and those are two modern front court players where you're like, what exact position do you play on the floor? Like, you can guard bigger, you can shoot, you can get out in transition, you can run, and you're not a liability on offense. And I think that you're exactly right, that he is finally a modernized forward or big in today's game that is playing for the Thunder, that he's not going to be ran off the floor in a 7-game series. Right. And then I think that when the time comes 3 years down the line, when this team is playing meaningful basketball again, that he's a guy that I'd like to have out there. I think that he's a guy that we should at least keep around for a little bit, in terms of, like you said, he plays so much bigger than he is. And he's not exactly a quick twitch guy, but he's fluid with his movements. And like you said, his jumper looks good. It looks really good, actually. And he shot 33% from 3 today, but it was on 3 attempts. And so it's like, I wonder what that would be. Maybe if he got that up to 5 or 6 a game, if once he gets confident enough in his outside jumper, because he's really the first modern front court player that the Thunder have seen in a while. Yeah.
And maybe I would imagine if we sat in front of Presti and I said, is he a 5? Is he a 4? What is he? I think he would just say, that's the point. Like,
he's a player.
That's your answer. Like, the versatility and the positionless nature of this team right now is brand new. Like, if we can go back down the line of throughout the years with this team and easily specify exactly what position every front court player played and their limitations to move out those. So the fact that we're seeing Bazley could play the 5 if they wanted. They could run lineups with him and 4 guards. They could run Roby and 4 guards. They can run Bazley and Roby together. They can run Horford. Like, these are really interesting lineups and really interesting players that are allowing Coach Dagnall to have really, really fun options right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The one that I'm iffy on is Big Al. I love the veteran. I love him as a guy. Every story I've read about him, he's amazing as a teammate. I'd want to see him on a contender. Just his timeline doesn't fit this team, so I wonder if maybe there's a contender out there that's going to be in the buying market. And then I saw what happened with Brooklyn and them trading for Harden, right? They got rid of Jared Allen and they just have DeAndre Jordan. Now, are the pieces there? Because they're going to need a backup big. Like you can't play DeAndre Jordan for 48 minutes in the playoffs. And Al
Right.
Horford is a big that stretches the floor. That's something DeAndre Jordan can't do. Could they be in play for Al Horford at the trade deadline?
Yeah, you say they're going to need a backup big. They might need a starting big. Like DeAndre Jordan is not good. He got benched a couple nights ago in favor of a guy that they ended up trading away. He's certainly not the answer, and I would imagine you make a great point. Al Horford would be a huge upgrade for them, especially on the defensive end,
And
which
a perfect fit to go along with what they want to do in Brooklyn. And that space of floor, you got Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and Harden with Joe Harris, and then Al Horford. That's 5 guys that can hit an outside jump shot.
That's such a money lineup. And I don't know speaking of money, I don't know what it would take for the money to work, because Al does make quite a bit of money.
Right.
And so do those others. That starting lineup would be incredibly expensive, but they doubled down on offense trading for Harden, and they're just going to be so bad defensively until they address it. So Horford would do some of that, and so that's an interesting thing to look out for. I do agree with you. Obviously, he's not on their timeline, and I think they're trying to play him into great value for another team. They're kind of showcasing him before the deadline. But
do you think the same thing happens with George Hill?
Yeah, same thing with George Hill. Like, there's a couple teams, and the team I keep coming back to for George Hill is the Clippers. But then I remember, like, we have everything that the Clippers would have to offer, and I don't think Presti is in the business of making that team any better right now, because we have so much of their future draft picks. So, but yeah, name a team, George Hill can help that team. Like, he's just that.
Exactly.
He's that type of player. He's translatable in just about any lineup. You see them playing George Hill on and off the ball in Oklahoma City. So it's obviously something he can do. It's something he's done in Milwaukee, something he's done in Indiana. So I would imagine that some team is going to come calling for George Hill, and it's just going to be a matter of time before this team is completely, Thunder University.
Yeah, I'm excited for that day, honestly, because again, we're kind of in that mold of, I don't necessarily think we're a bad team. Like, everybody said that our roster's terrible, but it's like SGA and heck, Mike Muscala today, they weren't going to let us lose. And so it puts the team in an interesting situation. And I saw a tweet going around with other Thunder fans recently, the last day or so, that said, the Thunder in an interesting position because everyone wants to embrace the tank, yet we seem competitive enough to stay in these games. Do you throw away a playoff tradition, or at least playing for a playoff, in order to get a higher draft pick when you have so many draft picks already? And with the sheer amount of draft picks that you have, one is bound to hit.
Yeah, that's going to be the question, like, do they have enough? If they like a player at the top of this draft, do they just cash in a lot of these future picks to trade up? Like, to answer your question, is it worth throwing away playoff tradition for a higher draft pick? If you're asking me, it's 100% yes. The top of this draft is so incredible. Mainly Cade Cunningham and Jalen Suggs are 2 guards that I don't know if they're different. Cade is enormous. He's 6'8" and does everything. Suggs is 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", also does everything, just at a little lower to the ground. I can't imagine Presti trying to come up with 2 guards he would rather play with Shea than those 2 guys. So and there's a lot more really high quality talent at the top of this draft. So, I do think they should be gunning for a top 5 pick.
We better play some catch up, because
I know
the Timberwolves look like they want to beat us there.
The Detroit. I mean, tonight was the Oklahoma City's 6th win, and I don't know if Detroit might not get to 6 wins for another month. Like, they are really behind when it comes to getting to that.
Talk about distressed assets. I mean, Blake Griffin doesn't look like he wants to play basketball anymore up there in Detroit.
Yeah. I mean, he and along with like 16 other power forwards up there are looking around like, what's going on? I want to finish with your thoughts on the top of the draft and what you think Oklahoma City's best path forward is.
I said it at the start. I say it now. I have this real love affair with Cade Cunningham, not just because of the hype around him, but the guy. When you watch him play, for one, he passes every aspect of the eye test. So the entertainment value is there, and entertainment value brings ticket sales, and small market teams need those ticket sales. And then two, he's not afraid of any moment, and I love that I'm not the players that say I'm not afraid of anything. Like you can throw 2-3 guys at me and I know the right decision to make. And I was just today before the Thunder game, I was actually watching this Cade Cunningham like highlight reel for his last like month, and I was enamored. You can fall into like the highlight reel syndrome or whatever.
Yeah,
but I just think the guy's going to be a real NBA guy. And if I'm going to hitch my wagon to anyone in this draft class, it's going to be him. And I'll go down with the ship if it doesn't turn out that he's a real NBA guy.
Yeah. And it feels like from everything I've read and listened to, it feels we're now like a month or so into the college basketball season, maybe a little more, but he feels like the consensus number one pick at this point. Like if the draft was held tomorrow, I think he would go one without much hesitation. So for Oklahoma City, the best thing they can do, even if they don't get all the way up to one, is getting somewhere in that top 10 as good as they can get that draft pick, the better. Because if they are in a position where they want to trade up, the better their pick is, the better their own pick is this year, the easier that's going to be. And I still don't know if any team would trade out of that one spot, given how good Cade is.
Yeah. I want to know
if
what
there's
your
a team that has
is.
the assets. If there's a team that has the assets to do it, it's Oklahoma City.
Right. I want to know your opinion on Josh Christopher, because he seems to be this guy that is a bit. People are torn on him. I used to love Josh Christopher when he played at Mayfair in high school. I watched like all his games on the Ball is Life and all that. And he gives me a lot of, and it's not just because he went to Arizona State, but he gives me a lot of James Harden vibes in his game, in that it's a lot of that stop and go. He relishes the contact, and also he likes the crowd. He plays up to the moment. Yeah. And then I read this article talking about him and just how he wants to build his brand, and that sort of turned me off to him. When guys feel that they're bigger than basketball and that like they seem like they're playing basketball for a brand. I understand that basketball is very much a business, but the guys that succeed in this league oftentimes are the guys that are like, I care about basketball and everything else comes second. And so for a moment that turned me off to him, but then seeing he's had some good games and some bad games at Arizona State, but then I think at the potential, and if you figure out his jump shot, and he's this guy that, again, is never in a rush. And so I want to know, do you have any thoughts on him as a player? Have you seen any of him this season?
Yeah, I watched the first couple games and then a couple highlights since, but he started off so well. Those first couple games, I was like, wow, this guy can shoot. I'm a big fan of tankathon.com, and they've got a running like first round mock, and he was like in the like late teens, early 20s to start, and then after those 2 games he was all the way up to like number 10, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense with what I saw. Like I can't imagine that guy not going in the top like 10 to 12. And I haven't been watching him since then, but I have been watching that first round mock pretty regularly, and he's fallen down to like mid 20s now, lower than he was to start the year. So I was curious, like what's going on with Josh Christopher, because he was like, he showed so much in those first couple games, and I was one of those that was really excited about his like mid to late lottery potential, maybe even higher. But like you're saying, he must have had some games where he really struggled.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the NBA draft.net right now. In the latest mock, they have the Thunder at 7. and 2, they take 6'9" Greg Brown out of Texas. And I'm not sure about that one. I haven't seen much of him.
He is a freak athlete. Like
I
probably the
don't
best
doubt it.
athlete in the class.
Texas has been getting a lot of freak athlete bigs. Like I think
Yeah.
about like Jackson Hayes and Mo
Yeah.
Bamba. It seems like
And
that's kind of the culture they're trying to build there.
and Bam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
And where do they have Christopher on that?
they have him now. Oh, wow. They have him mid lottery going to Golden State
Okay.
at 14.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, he's definitely got the skill set that I think NBA teams are really valuing. Like he's got good size, he's really quick laterally, and the jump shot is there enough for guys to respect his offense. I really like him. There's a couple of guys like in that mold that I like a bit more. Moses Moody being one of them. I really
Yep.
like that shooting guard from UConn, James Booknight. Really like his he had like a 40-point night a couple weeks ago. He can really score. But yeah,
what are your thoughts on BJ Boston?
I have not watched a single Kentucky game, to be honest. I haven't seen, and it sounds like I haven't been missing much, but I have read that people like BJ Boston.
Yeah, I watched a couple and then I just couldn't stomach it anymore. But he did come off the screen for me, and that's a big thing that I look for a lot in these college guys is that you can tell who's going to be an NBA guy with just the way, the pace that they play at the college level. And they do jump off the screen to you in terms of, wow, that guy just plays at a quicker pace than a lot of these other guys.
Yeah.
And he was one of those guys. So I don't know whether his game translates seamlessly to the pros, but he's another guy that because I mean, he's 6'7", and at the off guard spot, that's good size. And so I think that's a possible avenue. With the way this Thunder team keeps winning, I think that we're probably going to end up picking mid to late lottery. So
yeah, I think it'll be right now.
Guys.
I would say like 7, somewhere between like that 7 and 8 spot, and maybe like 11 and 12. And that, like, if I'm being honest, that I would call that a disappointment, given how much movement Presti made in the off season. I've mentioned this to Brandon on an earlier podcast. He's got to be sitting in his office like, I thought I did enough.
Yeah.
I thought we avoided this. But Shea's just awesome. And sometimes like you have awesome players and they do awesome stuff like they did tonight and you win games. But yeah, it's gonna be very fun to watch this team try and get back down, into that, maybe closer to that top 5 range.
Yeah, I wonder what else Presti will try to pull out of his bag of tricks. I don't know what you can do, because this year it's not even the veterans. Like, it's not the veterans leading the way.
Yeah, maybe there's some things that they'd like to go check out. Maybe they scope Shea's knee with a month and a half to go. Like, I really feel like nothing is off limits at this point. When it comes to late in the season, like ways to make this team a little more tank worthy.
It'll be interesting to see, but for now, my heart will remain conflicted, and I will cheer for losses and relish in the wins.
There you go. That is the bow on top of a night where they come back from 22 to beat the Bulls. They are back at it on Sunday at 7. They host the 76ers. They've already announced Joel Embiid will not be on this road trip, so you will not see Embiid on Sunday against the Thunder. But a very talented team at 9-4 coming to Oklahoma City. Ian, thank you so much for joining us, man. Really appreciate having you on.
It's always fun. I'm always here to talk basketball with y'all.
Yes, sir. Thunder fans, thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you soon. Have a good one.